Hey folks, it seems like there was actually another tool that I wanted to mention, but I forgot. So this is actually my tool that I use to like scale UVs to the same scale. So, one of the problems I encountered, right, was when I was like generating all the terrain meshes and stuff like that. I already had like a UV scale that I wanted to use for the ground. For example, like this is the ground, right? And this is the kind of like UV scale I wanted to use. Unfortunately, like, if I'm generating like a different mesh, right, the scale is not going to match, then I will have to like manually adjust the scale. It can be done, but if I'm tweaking stuff on the mesh, right, it's going to take me time to manually adjust it. So what I did was I used I created a tool to procedurally like calculate UV scale. So like these are all the individual objects, right? You can see like this one has really large textures, and this one's like really minuscule, and this one doesn't have. So this particular digital asset, right, will just calculate UVs, right, to make them all of the same scale. So here's a quick look at how this tool works. I'm going to use this piece of geometry I use for like obstructing players as a demonstration. So in this particular tool, right, let's take a look at the UVs first. So this is the UVs that have been generated for this particular piece of geometry. And this is like all these individual pieces, right, are in world space, but the UVs are obviously in like 0 to 1 space, right? So first things first, right, to actually get like a proper scale, the scale we want, right, we need to like normalize the UVs, which is from 0 to 1 space, to make sure that they kind of match the size of the geometry. So I tried a few things, right, and the thing that works really well is to first measure the parameter. So we're measuring the parameter of all these edges here. So let me put down an exploded view. You can see, right, so we're actually measuring the parameter of all these pieces here and storing them to an attribute, a primitive attribute. It's called, I'm calling it geoparameter. Now next, right, we put the geometry into UV space. So okay, so this is our geometry, and when I say put into UV space, right, I mean as you assign UV into position. So when you assign UV into position, right, you basically get a flattened 2D view of your UVs in world space. So now, right, the next step I do is I measure the parameter of these pieces here. So this is the flattened version, right? And since I have two values, right? First I have the parameter of in world space, and now I have the parameter, right, in like UV space. So in order to normalize this, right, all I need to do is divide geoparameter here by UV parameter, and this will give me a normalized UV space. So for example, right, this is so this is like normalized. This is like normalized UV coordinates, and if you look at the UV layout, right, it's pretty big. So now that we have a normalized scale, right, we can apply a final scale. Like for example, this particular scalar, right, scalar is set to 0.08, and I just applied the final scale here. So if you apply this to every single terrain object, right, I'll end up with the same scale, and all the textures will just the scale of the textures will match from geometry to geometry. All right, so thank you for staying that long, and I hope you found this informative.